All right, friends. We are back for another episode of the Evolving Adventurer podcast. Greg V recording live on Instagram. I'm going to remember this time that you need to hit the follow button or subscribe or whatever it is, because that helps me out. And we have a guest today. We have a Burrito League Tempe segment celebrity. Hey, buddy, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, my name's TJ Harms-Synkiew. I'm originally from northern Minnesota. Graduated from college at the University of Minnesota with a degree in sports management in 2023. Since then, I've been pretty much just doing a bunch of seasonal work, travel, lots of odds and ends jobs, and I got into ultra running in 2023. I jumped off the deep end, progressed through that. Yeah, obviously, Burrito League was the last big thing that I did. So, yeah, for having me.
Yeah, wow. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, this is great. I got to meet you. I think across the years. I remember you
Yeah.
vaguely. I remember you
Uh-huh.
being there, and then the
Yes.
first couple days of Burrito League, you're like, "I'm gonna go home," and then you didn't go home.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, thank you.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Well, why don't we
course.
start with that? Because I think more people would know you from Burrito League, and then I'll ask how this all started. But tell us about
Yeah.
Burrito League, because that's kind of still on people's minds.
Yeah, I mean, Burrito League was interesting. Finished with 1,070 miles in 26 days, so that was like around 41 miles a day that I averaged during that time. Yeah, it was a lot. It was an interesting, unique experience. Obviously, like, I don't know, the longest race I had done before that was I did a 200 miler in 60 hours, so that really didn't compare to a 26-day event going over 1,000 miles. It got into like uncharted territory pretty quick, and then like just the repetition, obviously, of just doing like that quarter mile segment back and forth, and just being in the city. It was kind of a lot, but yeah, it was a really unique experience. And on the backside of it, I still haven't ran since that time, so I'm a little bit bummed about that. So definitely still dealing with the physical effects of Burrito League. But yeah, I mean, overall, like definitely a very interesting experience, and was kind of cool to get to challenge myself in that way and do something pretty long.
Yeah. Yeah. For Burrito League, what was your experience like on the segment? And because you were out there all day at all kinds of hours and times and things like that. Tell us a little bit about like what that was like and your experience throughout the day.
Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, I really didn't run probably more than 100 total miles at Burrito League. A lot of it was walking and walking. Some days, like not particularly fast. Like, I don't know, some days I had like the trekking poles out and like I couldn't go faster than 20-minute miles. So if I like wanted to stay competitive and still get like a decent amount of miles in, the only way to do that was to be out there all day. So it was definitely frustrating at times just because you just like do the math of like what I wanted to get mileage wise each day and is like, all right, well, I gotta be out here for, 14, 15, 16 hours if I want to hit this mileage. Yeah, it was just a lot of, I don't know. I was definitely the tortoise in that race. Probably spent the most time on segment than anyone else. But probably also moved the slowest than anyone else. So yeah, it was interesting. It was definitely like a battle. Like there was a lot of things that I struggled with, both like physically, like getting enough calories. Like the first 2 weeks, I probably never ate more than like 3,000 calories in a day, which I knew wasn't enough, and I just like couldn't get myself to eat. I just felt like a toddler. Like I was just more picky than I'd ever been. Like usually, I'm like not really that picky, but I'd like have food in front of me and like be nibbling on it and like it just like couldn't get the calories down. And then on like the mental side, like obviously just like having to be patient every day and like not think of the challenge as a whole and try to be as present as possible, which is, easier said than done. And then also just like the aspects of like the challenge and like the repetition, like constantly being around people, being in the city was like really tough for me. Yeah, it was very challenging, for most of it. Like, it wasn't, like, exactly the most fun thing in the world for me. Like, there were definitely some, like, cool takeaways from it and, like, just kind of the bond created from other people. Like, to be honest, like, most days I was out there, I was, like, not exactly having the most fun. I was just, like, to achieve miles, basically. It was, yeah, it was a struggle.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite and a least favorite part of the segment? You're like, "Hey, I'm excited because I'm going by here," or, "Oh my gosh, do not like the croc," or whatever it was.
The road crossing 100% was my least favorite. I did not like that there was a road crossing. I probably felt the most strongly about there being a road crossing and, like, was like, "Why is this not going around the block?" So, like, multiple like, I almost got hit by a car, like, multiple times, and other people I know almost got hit by I know someone, like, did actually get hit by a car. I guess they were fine. I don't did you hear about that?
Dick didn't quite get hit. I actually have there's
Okay.
video on one of the live stream gimbals. He didn't get hit
Okay.
by the car. The car almost hit him, and he says he Heisman trophied it, so he like jumped up like that.
Okay.
Uh, but that's
Alright.
what he said. No, what I was told was someone got hit by a car. And then when I actually talked to him, he's like, "No, dude, it like barely touched me, and I hurdled it." And it's like, "Oh, well, that's very
Okay.
different from someone telling me, oh my god, that."
Well,
But that was
100%.
like the telephone game.
Yeah, that was the rumors that I heard, so I guess I've been going with that, so I gotta change my story.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
Okay, yeah,
definitely the
and I know it's
road
because I
crossing.
took that video, and yeah, yeah, that video is on a phone somewhere if it hasn't been deleted yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, the
I'd
road
say
crossing was fun.
yeah, and then I'd say favorite part, I guess, the CVS on the far end of segment, I guess it was love-hate because there was definitely like, there was that little crossing where, like, cars were coming in and out, so, like, you'd have to be a little pay attention there, and sometimes there were some sketchy people hanging around the CVS over there, but the convenience of having that there was very nice, and, like, there were multiple times, like, during the days where I would walk in and, you know, get Aquaphor because I was chafing or I wanted chocolate milk or whatever, so it was, like, pretty much having, like, an aid station, like, right there the whole time, which was super nice, and then also love-hate with, like, the HQ/parking lot because it was nice because I always had my stuff there too, but also sometimes you could just, like and the temptation of, like, wanting to go take a break was, like, you know, is right there also, so those are probably my, I guess, favorite parts of the segment.
Nice. Yeah, and like you said, there were so many new people to meet and new bonds created and stuff. It's been really cool to see, who's collaborating with who, like from
Mhm,
Tempe for things, but also Tempe with other places, and then talk to other people I've never met in person yet about
mhm.
what's happening in Vegas, what's happening in Chattanooga, what's happening in Buffalo, Barry in South Dakota. Yeah, what's happening there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, is cool. Yeah, and you were obviously, like, a lot more, like, in touch with, like, Burrito League, like, as a whole beyond Tempe versus, like and you kinda got that experience, like, especially on the live stream, like, you were always talking to people, Burrito Leagues, like, elsewhere, and, like, versus my experience, I
Yeah,
was, like, so locked into, like, Tempe that I honestly don't know too much about, like, the other Burrito Leagues, so kinda
yeah,
just, like, 2
yeah. And,
different
and for me,
perspectives.
I'm in the middle somewhere. There was like the Burrito League stuff happening on the street that I knew about, and then talking to whoever's on
Yeah.
a live stream. But if I didn't talk to you, I don't know anything else. I'd go in and be like, "Oh my gosh, did you see what happened here?" I'm like, "What? No, no, I was talking to two people. They hurled the
Yeah.
car. I don't know what's happening on the internet."
Yeah, yeah, that's
But
true.
yeah, well, congratulations. And what is the package that you won? Because I'd have to look on Instagram now and reread it. You got shoes and race entries and some amount of
Yes.
burritos, I think.
So the burrito money, the burritos, they just gave us like a Visa gift card, which was great for me because that was more practical than I can use it on other things other than just burritos. So there's like a just shy of like a $600 like Visa gift card, $600 in Air Viper race credit, pairs of Mount Taco shoes, and then East Peaks gave me 4 pairs of socks and an ice bandana, and then or maybe it was some other, like, smaller prize as well, but that was, like, the meat and potatoes of it, so, yeah, it was good to have some incentive because there was, 26 days that I also wasn't working, which was, like, part of the reason why I almost left early on because I was like, "Ooh, is this, like, a financially how financially irresponsible is it to me to, like, being here instead of working?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then with the contrast of having multiple people that were there working remotely, but barely
Yeah.
left the segment too. And then the dynamics were so interesting. And will we ever see them again? Who knows?
Yeah. No idea.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so you finished great. Congratulations. That was a gutsy performance there. You showed a lot of
Yeah.
grit, and it was pretty obvious you were in a lot of pain a lot of the days, but you kept going. So kudos
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah, thank you.
How does yeah, you're welcome. And then how does that now translate into like what are you or wait, should we start at the beginning? Let's go where we are. So what is next
Yeah.
for you after now that that's done and we're like 6 weeks since it finished ish?
Yeah, it's kinda messed up, my spring plans, to be completely honest. Because, like I said, I still haven't ran yet, and there's a lot of things that I wanted to do in March that I'm, like, not gonna be able to do. My next thing that I'm doing is I'm, crew pacing someone at Monster. There's at a Monster 300. That's my next thing, and then my next personal thing that I'm signed up for is the Bighorn 100. So this year I'm signed up for, excuse me, the Bighorn 100, Ouray 100, Leadville 100, and Run Rabbit Run 100, and then I'm on the wait list for the Crazy Mountain 100. So those are everything that I'm like signed up for, and then there's a couple other ideas that I have that I might pull the trigger on depending on how I'm feeling physically, mentally, how much I can financially justify to spending on races. Uh, but yeah, those are the ones that are kind of on the agenda. Probably some personal fun stuff in between as well. So, but it just kind of depends right now on like how my recovery process kind of continues over the next couple months.
Yeah. And how are you feeling? Like how's the body doing since Burrito League?
There was like the initial recovery, like the first couple days, and since then, has pretty much like been the same. Once like the swelling went down, the main thing was like my left shin. And that was what kind of prevented me from running a lot of Burrito League. That was like the reason that I had like trekking poles out sometimes. Like most of the pain that I was feeling was just my left shin. So that's pretty much been the main culprit since then as well, and kind of what has kind of kept me on the sidelines so far since Burrito League. So it's been feeling pretty much the same, and it's not. Finally got went because I don't have health insurance, so I was like kind of like a little stubborn and didn't want to like pay for an X-ray because I didn't know for like if it was a stress fracture or if it was tendon related or what. But the other day, I finally went to the doctor and just paid for an X-ray. So nothing is wrong with the bone, so it's not a stress fracture. So I think it's tendon related. So from now moving forward, it's just going to be like a lot of PT sort of stuff. But it doesn't really hurt a ton day to day. Like sometimes if I'm on my feet too much, it'll like or too long, it'll hurt for a little bit. But it's mostly when I've tried to like go on hikes and stuff. Like the most that I've done at once is like 7 miles and then a couple of 5 mile hikes. And like after those hikes, like I usually feel pretty trashed the next day. So that's kind of like the main thing. But the pain's not like during Burrito League, it was pretty bad. But since then, the pain's not like super bad because I'm not really pushing it that much. But I just know that it's like not good pain and that I like shouldn't continue pushing through it. So yeah, that's kind of like the frustrating part is like I feel like I could go for a run right now, but then I'm like, and even like right after Burrito League, I like felt like I could go for a run, but I'm like probably wouldn't feel good the next day. Yeah, it's been like a little bit frustrating. I think impacted me like more mentally than anything, just like not being able to run and like even like go on like a decent hike. Like I just every time I'm like doing something like on my feet, I kind of feel a little bit guilty about it because I know that the next day like I'm probably not gonna feel super good if I'm like on my feet too much the day before.
Yeah. Gosh. Well,
Yeah.
heal fast and get back.
Yeah.
Hopefully we see you back out there doing everything.
Yeah.
'Cause yeah, you got big plans, and didn't you just recently become an ultra coach as well?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I just completed my USCA class and then I launched my own coaching and crewing pacing brand. It's called Coach Crew Pace. It's pretty straightforward. So I got became the an ultra running a certified ultra running coach through USCA. So it's like mainly focused on the coaching and then the crew and pacing side as well. Like or someone's hiring me to crew pace them at Arizona Monster 300 and then kind of in talks with some people about other races. So that's something that I'm launching or have launched recently, and then hoping to, you know, try to make things happen with that, connect with people in that realm. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, you've got quite the race resume here. A bunch of backyard, first,
Yep.
second, first, first. Did wait, Front Range Ultra Days? That's, oh my gosh, Mandy. That's Mandy's race, right? Mandy
That's
Mullen?
not that they're put on by
Not
Ultraverse. It's another smaller company. They're
Ultraverse. Okay.
based Yeah, they're based
Okay.
have you heard of them?
I have at some point during Burrito League, somebody
Okay.
mentioned them. No, it might have been ATY and Lisa Marie Fosdell Griffin. I think that's where it was.
It probably was. Yeah. So, yeah, they're like
Yes, it
another,
definitely was
like
her. Now that you say that,
yeah.
it was her.
Yeah, I bet it was 'cause, her and Renee, do a lot of those races, but yeah, they're just like they mostly do a lot of stuff in the Midwest, but then a little bit of Colorado as well. Like, they put on the Summit 200 in Colorado. It's like have you heard of that one?
I have, yes.
Yeah.
Now that you say it, like all these things are coming back because I would make a note in my phone as I was out there, and
Uh
then I would get back into like, I need to decompress. So let's research this race rather than try and talk to anybody. And then I'm going to go right back out there and do it again.
Yeah, yeah, they're pretty cool. Yeah, I got connected with them when I volunteered for the Summit 200, and then I did Ultra Days, with my volunteer credit. So, yeah, they're like a cool company. It's just put on by this couple, but it's similar vibes as like Mandy and her husband, the couple, and they have their little race series and kind of a tight knit little community that does a lot of their races.
Sweet. Well, and so what got you into ultra running? Did you grow up running? Did you like play soccer? Nothing, none of the above?
Yeah, so my main sport growing up was wrestling, so I did that one from K through 12. I got into running. So wrestling was my main sport, but I was always involved. Like there's like the three main like youth sports seasons, and I was always involved in a sport. And I was doing football when I was younger, and I was like really, really bad at it, to be honest. So it just got to the point where it was just not fun at all, and I was just like getting crushed, and I was like, this is terrible. So I don't want to do this anymore. And so I decided to do running or joined cross country instead. So that was when I was probably 15. So, and I kind of just like fell in love with it like right away, to be honest. Like it was super fun to just run around in the woods and have fun with my friends. And I wasn't a particularly super good 5K runner, which is like what we were doing in high school cross country. I had fun with it. And then college, I was on off with running. We met, never really got into it more than a couple months at a time. And then after college, I went out to Colorado in summer 2023 to do a season of trail work. And so I was getting a lot more into hiking and backpacking and outdoor stuff. And then that was kind of that's when I did my first marathon and my first ultras and got into it from there. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of been all over. I'm looking at your ultrasound. Steamboat,
Yeah. Yeah.
Fairbanks, Alaska, Colorado. Oh, the Great Divide. That's what I was looking at. Ram Party.
Uh-huh.
Was that the year it snowed at Ram Party?
No, I think that was the year
I
before.
think that was
I heard of
2 years
that
ago.
year though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Wow. And so for you, like, you did Burrito League, but you have a bunch of backyard ultras, 200s. What was the draw first to like hundreds or 200s, but then to Burrito League? And how do they compare?
yeah. So my first 100 was, I did my first marathon in July of 2023. And then I was kinda eyeing up this 100 in September. It was like a 1-mile loop, and I was like, "Oh, this seems like a kind of an friendly way to try something like that." So I, um, finished my first marathon, and then, like, within 2 hours of finishing that, I just signed up for this 100-miler, and I was just like, you know, once I financially commit, I'm on. So I just kinda, like, took advantage of myself, like, feeling the runner's high from my first marathon, signed up for that, and was like, "Well, prepared or not, this is what we're doing." So I went and did that, and it was, like, pretty rough, to be honest. And then, like, after that, I didn't do my next 100 until, I did the Front Range Ultra Days, which was a 200. So, and that was like 2 years later. So I kind of was doing like 50K, 50-mile sort of stuff for a couple years and was a little bit afraid of the longer stuff because that first 100 I finished, but it was quite rough. I mean, I just frankly was like unprepared for it. That was like the main reason that it was rough. And then so my buddy was set to do his first 100 at Ultra Days, and I was going to sign up for the 100 with him, but then they had a 200-mile option. I just went ahead and just did the 200 because it felt kind of scary, but it went like super well. And then like that race kind of was like a pivotal point in like my perspective on like those longer distances. And then also like getting to volunteer and pace at the Summit 200 last year, getting to volunteer a lot at Moab, and then like getting to see people across the years, like, hitting big numbers and, 6-day event. Is all like really inspiring, like for me, and kind of like shifted my perspective of like, oh, like I totally can go after these longer distances for someone like myself who like isn't particularly fast, and I feel usually stronger compared to others, like the longer the races, like maybe that's actually where I would competitively do the best, like in these longer races. But that was kind of like what has drawn me to the 200 plus scene. And then Burrito League, like that just kind of came up out of the blue, but I think I've always kind of fantasized, especially the last couple of years and getting into ultra running about, I hear about, Tara Dower setting the FKT on like the Appalachian Trail and like people doing, running across the country and doing longer stuff like that. And it's like super cool and inspiring. And for myself, like I can't help look at stuff like that and be like, oh, like I wonder if I could do something like that. I wonder what it would be like to do 40, 50-mile days or how like just kind of really pushing the envelope of like how much and how far along you can do something. So that was like the big appeal to like Burrito League when I saw that. It's like, oh, like 26 days, like, this is like new. Uh, but like it'd be kind of cool just to maybe see what I can do in that time. So that was like definitely definitely the draw, as well as I knew a lot of people that were gonna be there. I knew it was gonna be a good vibe in Tempe. That was why I, like, left Vegas and went to Tempe. I know it took a few days for the Vegas one to pop up. Uh, but, like, regardless, like, I wanted to be at the one in Tempe because I feel like that was, like, the one to be at, and I was in Vegas, so it's, like, a 5-hour drive, so, like, really not super crazy to make happen. So that was definitely the draw to Burrito League for me.
Yeah, and thank you for coming out because it was cool to see you and then see all the ups and downs. And wow, TJ's having a bad day. Oh, TJ's having a good day. Wow. So yeah, I mean, you did. It was a rough go, but I mean, kudos to you again for being out there. And can you talk a little bit about mentally, like how has that experience with going through the pain, going every day for 26 days in Tempe? What can you carry forward for that for your next races and for coaching or working with athletes?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of it kind of just reiterated a lot of things that I like knew about myself, but definitely like instills like another level of like confidence because I mean a lot of it is just like suffering, and just like suffering like patiently, especially, when it's like day 10 and there's 16 days left to go and you're already like, my goodness, like I'm already 400 plus miles into this event and there's still who knows how many miles to go and my legs feel completely trashed and I'm like using trekking poles and just like continuing to go like day after day after day. Like there were so many days, especially when I finished and like trying to like get to sleep where I like really wasn't confident that I physically could continue, and then just to be able to do that day after day and, like, make it through another day, make it through another day, make it through another day, like, I think there was just a lot of, like, mostly physical confidence in myself gained through that, but I think that definitely allowed for me to also display, like, my mental toughness, and I think that's something that I've, like, kind of known about myself, and I think there's other, like, tough things that I've done in life that are somewhat comparable to something like that. Like, for instance, like I wrestled growing up and going through a wrestling season, even like a high school wrestling season is like very, very tough thing. And going through the practices and the workouts and then cutting weight and making weight and then trying to compete whilst you're like kind of malnourished the whole time. Like definitely not promoting that and like saying it's the healthiest thing to do, but like those are things that I've gone through, and it definitely like has shaped me and my mindset as a person. So I think just going through stuff like that from the physical end, and then also like on the mental thing, on the mental end, I think everyone's gone through challenging things in life, and I always think of that, and I thought of that a lot during Burrito League, and I did struggle a lot, and it was really hard most days, and I always thought of, you know, there's harder things that I've gone through in life. There's harder things that other people are going through life in life, and that perspective, I think, allows me to kind of work through those moments, both in Burrito League and then some of the backyard ultras and just running in general. And I think that mindset and perspective is definitely something that hopefully inspires other people. And I think that I'm excited to get into the coaching realm because I think, especially one on one, like having conversations with people and like talking through those things for themselves, I think I do have like a lot of value to give other people in that setting. To have done some of those things myself.
Yeah, and mindset plays such a huge role in something, and you really see the ebbs and flows. Like if you've ever been to, well, like, anyone out there who's listening, because you obviously have, but have you ever been to a 100 miler and seen like life in a day? And this
Yeah.
person looks great, they look terrible, they're a screaming toddler, they look great again, they're asleep, they look great again. But if you haven't had that experience, like there's so many things that can cause or be the source of so much anxiety for what if I gotta poop? What if there's no food? What if this? What if there's a bear? And you're like, oh, okay. It really can be quite simple or quite complicated with, and how do you address and navigate, somebody else's things? But that's really cool that that's something that you can do and you have your experience to draw on. And there's people out there that like, you'd be a perfect fit for.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think to your point, like a lot of it is like mindset, especially in ultras. Obviously, there is like the physical component to it, and like there's ultra distances, even a 50K is, doing 31 miles is a lot. And obviously, doing 200 miles is a lot, and doing anything more than that is a lot. But most of it, I think, is like being that mindset of like I'm gonna keep going, like being prepared. Like these are the things that I'm doing, and I mean, even in my experiences doing ultras, oftentimes I've had more experienced people around me that have, I've been able to learn from, and have just kind of allowed me to be more prepared in those moments, or just kind of figure shit out when it happens. And I think that's definitely something like I can offer other people, especially doing their first couple ultras where it can be super overwhelming from like the nutrition to like going to the bathroom to, especially when you're in the race, no matter how much you prepare, there's just going to be shit that happens and you're going to be kind of freaking out and maybe be a little anxious and not know what's normal and what's not normal. And just having experienced people to draw on and kind of ask questions to and kind of help you in those moments, I think can help a lot. Cause I think some people get in those moments and they freak out and that's when they're susceptible to quitting because they just don't know what's going on versus they're like, oh, like I have diarrhea and you're just like, yeah, dude, like that's part of the game, like this, here's some things that we can do to maybe correct it. Um, it's like, what have you eaten in the past couple hours that maybe has led to this? All we can do is keep moving forward, but like you're probably going to be fine. Like you just got to keep moving forward and hope that it'll pass. So I think there's like a lot of just situations like that that if you're around people or can ask questions to like that are more experienced and that have experienced those things and seen other people experience those things, it just kind of takes that anxiety off. Like I remember during my first 100, I was like freaking out and like about to quit at like mile 50. And it was like a really small race. There's only 8 of us that started. And again, it was like a 1 mile loop. So kind of a unique thing. But like the race director like walked a lap with me and I was just telling him all the things that were happening to me. And I just thought they were the worst things in the world. And he was just like, yeah, like that's normal. And I was just like in my head, I was almost a little bit like pissed off, like, no, dude, you're not understanding me. But it was like he kind of told me some of his ultra experience and he had done Leadville a few times and had done a few other ultras and watched other people do ultras. So he's just like, yeah, like these things are completely normal and Yeah, it doesn't necessarily make it easier for you in these moments, but it's nothing to freak out about, you know? So, I think that perspective helps a lot.
Yeah. And I would add you've done a lot of volunteering at stuff too, and you get a very different take and exposure to ultra running, being a volunteer, especially at an aid station. I mean, anywhere that you are, but like towards the middle and the end of the race, like you just being out there for 100 miler, say at mile 70, you will see a lot. You will learn a lot just if you do an 8 hour volunteer shift somewhere. So that you have that experience to draw on as well. I'm sure you've seen some things at aid stations.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've volunteered at lots of different events, varying of different race distances, from marathons all the way up to the 6 day and across the years where with the winner did this year did like 480 miles or something like that. So it's like, yeah, it's definitely valuable, I think, to be able to see people in those moments and kind of see how they navigate it and be able to learn from that myself, both like when I'm racing with other people and also like just getting that experience myself through the things that I'm dealing with. And then, on the volunteer end, you're like more hands on with people and someone's like at Moab, I was volunteering at the mile 170 aid station and people are coming in at mile 170, and a lot of them are just freaking wrecked. And it's like, all right, well, you still have 70 miles to go. That's not a particularly short distance, but it's kind of cool to help people in those moments and kind of kick them out the door, and then get to see them a couple days later at the finish line. So I think that experience definitely helps a lot. And then I've done a little bit of crewing and pacing as well, and that is also just another experience where you're like actually out there with runners and getting to see them while they're moving and the things that they're navigating through during those points too. I think, yeah, all that experience from racing to crewing and pacing to volunteering and just being around the ultra community and just like having the conversations like we're having is like it's all just learning, and think it's really cool. But yeah, definitely just kinda every conversation you have, you just kinda get different tools in your toolbox, and then when situations happen to yourself or other people, you just things that you can try and yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. And there's just so much to learn. Even if you think you know everything, you go to race like, oh, that's a brand new idea. I wouldn't have thought of that, or wouldn't have tried that, or hey, yeah. And people are. It's cool to see how the community's growing and shifting. And with the ultra community at like say a big trail race is the same, but it's a little bit different than Burrito League was, but it's still the same community. And you
Yeah,
see the crossover and like, man, oh wow, yeah. Maybe somebody's not going to go and want to do 100, Javelina 100 or Leadville or something,
yeah,
but you can go and do it at your local park or at Cornerstone Park in Vegas for jackpot or,
yeah,
whatever it might be. So it's neat to see all of those different draws people have for their motivation and for everything. So yeah, and
yeah.
also as someone who runs a lot, thank you for being a volunteer and supporting because lots of people have done stuff when my hands don't work at mile 68 and I'm hangry at mile 91 and
uh
whatever. So thank you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I feel like it's definitely, like, been cool for me to because I did a few ultras, excuse me, before I, like, started volunteering, and then, like, last summer, I was like, I don't know, like, I know that I'm, like, kind of a grumpy runner sometimes and probably, like, a pain in the ass to deal with, and I was like, "Well, I should, pay this back a little bit and, get to go help other people," and I think it is, like, a really obviously, you get, like, a lot of experience out of it, and I think that can be a reason to volunteer, but I think for me, and I'm sure you can attest this as well, like, it's just so fun and so rewarding to be able to help people during those moments, whether they're, feeling 10 out of 10 and, you're giving them high fives and hyping them up and being high energy, or, they're about to DNF, make them some weird concoction on the aid station and sit down and talk with them for, few minutes, and sudden they feel great, and then you get to see them at the finish line, and, you got to be a small but important part of their race experience. So, I think it's super awesome. Like, that was, like, across the years for me, like, it was just so fun to just, like, go there and hang out and, like, see these people just doing these crazy things, especially those like looped courses, like the whole race is right there. It's all happening in a 1.4 mile loop. So like as a spectator, and especially a race like that, like you can go just share laps with anyone, and it's like super cool because if you're like up at 2 in the morning and feel like going doing a lap with someone, like they probably really appreciate that you're doing a lap with them. Or even if you're just like, "Hey, like, what do you need? Is there something I can get for you? Like, can I go get some food from the aid station for you? Like, what do you need?" Because when it's I couldn't imagine what it's like at night 4 of a 6-day race, and, their brains are probably not working too well, so even just, like, checking in on someone and being like, "Do you need to eat?" Like, they maybe didn't eat for 3 hours and forgot that food existed, and they maybe are hallucinating or, don't even know what's going on, so I think those kind of races are super cool. It's super rewarding
Yeah,
to get to be a part of that.
yeah, and there's such a I was thinking about it and talking to a friend of mine and explaining the concept of ultra and, for anybody you talk to, like, "I don't even like to drive my truck that far." Okay.
Yeah.
But, it was like someone of that, so I'm like, "Okay, this is cool," but, like, think about it, you're gonna go and it's very different to run 100 miles, like, think of Leadville, just think of, I'm gonna run 100 miles in Colorado or in Northern
Yeah.
Arizona versus I'm gonna run 100 miles in around a loop. They're just
Yeah.
different, but you take so
Yeah.
many of the anxieties away. Like, you got food every mile, you got a bathroom every mile, there's running water every mile. It's not like, well, cool, here we are in Moab, and what's the shortest distance? 13 miles to the next aid station. Maybe there's
Yeah.
water, maybe you're gonna get blown away by a flash flood. There's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just different.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think those short looped races, timed races are super cool and very friendly for people, either older folks who maybe can't do some of the technical trail stuff anymore or folks looking to do hit a distance for the first time, whether that's like Mm, you know, Jan, who's 70 years old and has volunteered at a lot of these 200-mile races. And across the years, she was hanging out, was like, you know what? I want to do a 50K. Like, I'm just going to walk a 50K today. And this is like, that's pretty cool. Or someone trying to hit a PR in a 6-day race and trying to, get 450 plus miles or whatever in between. I think it is like a very friendly way for people to do that. And it takes away a lot of the anxieties, like you said. But I think that's what's cool about ultra running is there's so many different flavors of ultra running. Like there's different distances, whether it's 50K to 6-day event to Burrito League, or trying to set the FKT on one of these longer trails or across the country. Whether it's a backyard ultra and you're confined to have to hit this certain mileage every hour, or you know whatever else in between, like the looped races, the longer point, like Monsters, a 300-mile trail race point to point, none of it repeats. So it's like there's so much out there, and it's just all kind of under this same umbrella. So it's really kind of cool because I think once people get into it, you can kind of find what speaks to you and what you like to do, and kind of find your niche within the ultra worlds.
Yeah. On that note, do you have a favorite and or a least favorite type of ultra?
I think I'm, like, into all of it, to be honest. I think, there's not much that I'm not interested in. Uh, just thinking off the top of my head, like something like the Barkley marathons, like, that revolves, like, a lot of, like, navigating off-trail stuff, that probably turns me off a little bit. Like, I prefer there to be a trail and, like, obviously, a little route finding is okay, but I want there to be a trail. Like, within that realm, like, whether it's 50K, 200 mile, whether it's 6 days on the same 1.4 mile loop, or, a point to point 300-mile race, or doing the AT, like a long FKT, or, something like that. Like, I'm pretty open to all of it, but I still feel very, like, new and young, like, in my ultra career of, like, getting to explore those, like, I still haven't done technically an official, like, Trail 100 race. So it's like, and this year I'll be able to, get to experience that for the first time at Bighorn and then get to do the other ones. So yeah, all of it's like very, for the most part, pretty interesting, exciting. I'm pretty open to. Uh, I guess the only other turnoff that I have besides like the the route finding is probably pavement, which is a little ironic to say after Burrito League, but I definitely prefer trail, as much trail as possible over pavement. The Burrito League was all on pavement, so I can't say that I'm like hell no to pavement because I clearly will do stuff that's longer that's on pavement, but I definitely have a strong preference towards being on the trail, being more in like a naturist environment. But the 200 I did was in a city park in Loveland, Colorado. I've done plenty of stuff like that, and I think there's pros and cons to all of it, just depending on what you're looking for. Yeah, I think I have some level of interest in all of it. But yeah.
Yeah. And are there any big races or challenges or things that you're looking at for yourself? Maybe not this year, but in the future, like whatever, what is it, UTMB or I don't know, the Grand Slam of 200s, the Triple Crown, any of those things?
Yeah, so like I said, I was out volunteering at Moab this year. So I volunteered for like 2.5 weeks there, and then I'm gonna be leading it before I crew pace at Monster, I'm gonna be leading the aid station. So I'll have enough race credit to run the Destination Trails Grand Slam next year. So that will include Monster, Bigfoot, and Moab. So that's kind of something on my agenda. And then I do have a lot of Air Viper race credits. So if I could get into Cocodona, it'd be fun to throw that in there as well. And then also the Summit 200 in Colorado put on Ultraverse, like I mentioned. Like, I don't know, that one's interesting to me because I love Colorado, so I'm very biased to anything that's in Colorado, but that's like the only trail 200 in Colorado right now. And it's super small and like not a lot of people, even in Colorado and definitely outside of Colorado, like not a lot of people know about that race. And I just like would love to see that race grow because I think Ultraverse is a great company. I think it's super cool. And I just think the idea of like a Trail 200 in Colorado is just like, that's just meant to be because Colorado is a freaking awesome place for trail running. And there's like a big community of trail runners out there. Um, and I think that race, it's just, it just makes sense. So like that's another race that I want to do. So there's plenty I have my eye on. I eventually want to do some form of 6 day event, whether it's at Across the Years or 6 days in the Dome. 6 days in the Dome also has 10 day event. So, any of these like longer events like that. And then, I'm probably not going to ever set like the FKT on like the Appalachian Trail or something like that or the Arizona Trail, but it would be fun to either through hike them just leisurely or, if I could make it work, like have someone or a couple people crew me while I just, run it as fast as I can. But also just like doing longer FKTs in general is definitely something that I'm interested in. And I've gotten more into, I did right before Burrito League, I think like 2 days before Burrito League is when I finished it. So after Across the Years, I went to San Diego and had some buddies out there and they had like a point to point one planned. So we just like went out and just did 100 miles on our own. And like, that's not going to show up on my ultra sign up. That technically doesn't count as 100, but it was like super fun. It was just me and a couple buddies and we did 100 miles and there's no medals, no glory, no race results. And it was just like because we love running. So I definitely want to do some more stuff like that as well. So yeah, there's plenty of no no shortage of inspiration and things that I want to do. It's all very exciting to me, but I'd say right now it's definitely the longer stuff is interesting to me. Like the longer, like the probably the more interested I am in it, to be honest, to an extent, because you're doing something like the Appalachian Trail, like, that's a lot of like, I mean, money and energy and, got to keep the bank account above zero as well. So, but yeah, all of it's It's very interesting to me, and hopefully in 2027, that'll be, like, a big year of, like, checking off a few of those from, like, the 200 plus mile races. Hopefully the next few years, I can just continue to do some of those things.
Yeah. And do you see yourself continuing to be based where you're based right now, or all kinds of options in the works? Are you kind of settled or flexible?
Yeah, yeah, definitely flexible. Like I said, since I graduated college in 2023, I've been kind of floating around. I've done a couple stints in Colorado, did a stint in Oregon, was in Alaska last winter. I was in North Dakota during the winter working in oil and gas, just trying to like recoup on the finances a little bit. Right now, I'm in Las Vegas. I'm preparing to move back to Colorado sometime between Monster and Cocodona. So the next, 4 to 6 weeks, probably, I'll move back to Colorado. So still definitely in the nomadic point in life. So pretty flexible about like where I'm based out of. If there's somewhere that I go, Colorado has been a place that I have returned to a few times, and it's definitely a place that I really enjoy spending time. So maybe at some point I just have an opportunity in Colorado where it's just like, okay, this is where I'm gonna live life for a little bit, or maybe I continue to float around for a couple of years. It's, who really knows? But yeah, as of right now, like definitely not, in a place of being settled from a location standpoint or anything. So pretty flexible and open.
Cool. And had you been to Colorado before graduation? Like, is the West entirely new to you? Like, I graduated, I'm out of here, and you just haven't left, or did you have previous experience? Vacations or something?
Yeah, I'd been to Colorado. I had a cousin that lived in Golden, Colorado, right outside of Denver. So I went right after I graduated high school. I like visited him because he was getting married like on his own property. So I like went out for a couple weeks and kind of set up for that. And then I had done like a couple trips out, like visiting him during college, just like, 1 week trips or whatever. So I had a little experience with Colorado, but I hadn't, excuse me, done like a whole ton. A lot of it was just like hanging out with him, and like we did a little bit of adventure stuff, but like not a whole ton. But like just going to Colorado and just like seeing it was just like, oh, this is like definitely a really cool place that I want to, go spend significant time in one day. So it was a little bit of both. Like I didn't really travel a ton growing up. Uh, the main reason I stayed in Minnesota for college was just because of in-state tuition, to be honest. And I did know that like once I graduated college and like had the opportunity, like I was gonna beeline it out of Minnesota and just like go travel and go explore and go do things. And I really didn't know like what that meant at the time, but I just knew that that was something that I wanted to do. So then once I kind of discovered like seasonal work and like the nomadic kind of lifestyle and like actually met people that were doing it, because it's kind of different when you're like just seeing it on, TikTok or videos of like, oh, people are doing this, and you're like, okay, but does that actually exist? And then when you actually like meet people that are doing it, you're like this is cool. Now I have friends that are like that I know like that actually do this for their life, and you're like, oh, that kind of just gave me more of confidence and more of like a blueprint for like to make that happen for myself. But yeah, like a lot of seeing the West has been mostly just exploring after college, to be honest. Yeah, I guess that's like one thing that I definitely am not settled, but there are like a couple areas in particular in the West that I'm like, I probably want to spend here, like Colorado, like yeah, even like going to Arizona and like meeting a lot of people around Tempe, and like I haven't done a ton in Arizona. Like that's a place I'd like to spend time in. When I was in Oregon, I was like the PNW is like really cool area, and I was like, oh, I'd like to spend more time there. And like now my cousin that like was living in Colorado, he now lives in Montana. Like I haven't spent a ton of time there. So like, there are some areas where like, there's like a handful of, general regions where I'm like, okay, these are probably areas where I want to spend more of my time. Definitely don't have any interest in like going back and living in the Midwest, and like there's certain parts of the East that are intriguing to me, but I think the West kind of holds my heart right now. So that's kind of I think the general. region of the country that I anticipate spending most of my time.
Have you got yourself into 14ers and such, being in Colorado?
Yeah, so I the first summer I worked in Colorado, we were doing trail work. I was with a company called Rocky Mountain Youth Corps. So, and we partnered with an organization called Colorado 14ers Initiative, and their whole shtick is they only do trail work on 14ers. So I worked on Mount Albert there in the summer of 2023. And then this last summer in 2025, I worked with Colorado 14ers Initiative, and I was working on Mount Chavano down near Salida. And so, like, I have experience like actually working on 14ers, which is pretty cool. And then additionally, like a fair bit. I think I'm somewhere in the 20. I don't know my exact 14er count. I'm somewhere like in the upper 20s. But I'm really afraid of heights. So like 14ers like Capitol Peak and such, like or Little Bear, I'm like, I'm not gonna do those ones. Accepted and given up on the fact that I'm gonna hit all of them. But like it is the non-technical ones and the less scary ones are like have been really fun for me to do like a lot of the class 1, class 2 ones. A lot of them make for like fun trail runs, like a lot of it's been accidental training. Like in 2025, like last summer, like I didn't really like have a training plan per se. I was just on my off time, I would most days I would do a 14er, and I never thought of it like training or like whatever. It was just like, oh, this is how I want to spend my time, and then I would do that. Yeah, I was working 8 days on, 6 days off, and even 8 days on, I'm working on a 14er. So I'm like essentially hiking a 14er during my work days, and then like during my off days, there's a lot of days I was hiking a 14er. So it just like turned into like accidental good training. So I think like 14ers are like really fun for that, where it's like I think it's fun to like power hike up and sometimes time myself and just see how fast I can beg the summit. And then like on the way down, it's like, well, you climbed like a few thousand feet up and now you get to, reap the rewards of running down, especially on the ones that like aren't super technical. Like it's pretty much runnable the whole way down. So it's kind of been like a fun accidental way to like train. And now that I am like taking ultra running a little bit more seriously, like, probably more intentional training, but like it's like honestly just like all fun. Like it's something that I love to do and will probably continue doing. I've done some 13ers as well, and those are kind of fun too because there's like a lot less people. And some of those ones, I'm not the biggest fan of bushwhacking, but some of the 14ers do get a little busy. And some of the 13ers, well, they don't like not all of them have like established trails and are more like suggested routes. So there can be like a bushwhacking level. Sometimes the trade-off for the solitude is kind of worth it. Like I did get into some of the 13ers this last summer as well. I mean, just like anything in Colorado, like there's so many beautiful places and hidden gems in Colorado, and obviously like the main things as well. Like there's I've spent, 2 full summers in Colorado, and I feel like I've made the most of my time of, like, trying to get out and explore and do as much as I can on my off time, and I feel like just have not even scratched the surface of, like, what there is to do in Colorado. Like, that's why it appeals me so much as, like, a place is, I think you could spend a lifetime doing different things every weekend in Colorado and, still not see it all, and obviously, there's other cool areas like that too elsewhere, but Colorado is just like the place that I have the most experience with, so definitely holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah, it is a magical place, and it's this fine line of like, man, I want to ask more questions about that, but also, like, if I do, then somebody finds out and they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends, and
Yeah.
then you can't park at the trailhead anymore. And,
Yeah. There's that. Yeah, so, yeah.
I'm curious now, what was the first 14er that you climbed?
I was Albert when I was working on it. Yeah. Yeah, we were I'll give this one a shout out. This trail does not and this might turn into one of those situations, but that would be okay because we put a lot of work on this trail. On Albert, there's the North Trail, which is what most people do. And that one I've never done that trail, and I probably never will because I heard it's just like a highway of people. Because Albert's the tallest Colorado in 14, or the tallest mountain in Colorado. For those of you who don't know, so it's just like a super popular tourist attraction of people that like want to do it, and it's a very doable mountain. So a lot of people can do it, and so and the North Elbert Trail is like the more popular trail, so a lot of people will do that one, and then there's the South Elbert Trail, which is not as popular, but still pretty popular. And then we worked on the south or the Black Cloud Trail, and the Black Cloud Trail that's like it gets like no traffic at all, and I think is far the coolest like route of Albert, and I am very biased because I worked a summer on that trail. So it's like I, spent a lot of time building that trail and hiking that trail. So it's just like very special to me. But I think it is like one of the coolest 14er trails. And currently, there's not a lot of traffic on it. So, and some people that even know about it, like it's just a little bit more of a pain in the ass to get to, and like also more challenging hikes. So I think there are some barriers there that like attract other people away from it to the easier trails. Like the Black Cloud Trail for Mount Albert is the trail that I would recommend. It's pretty cool.
It just went down on my notepad, so I'm going to investigate that on 14ers.com after we're done.
Yeah. Yeah, you should.
That would be awesome. Cool. Well, TJ,
Yeah.
thank you so much for all of your time. Whoever
Yeah.
that wants to follow you, check out your, wait, I wrote this down, Coach Crew Pace business. How do they get a hold of you? Give us all those fun details.
Yeah. Coachcrewpace.com will get you to my website. So if you're interested in setting up a free 30-minute consultation, if you go to that link, it'll send you to Google Form, and then you can set that up. Or you can also connect with me on Instagram. My tag is Harms-Synkiew. And I also have my links to the Coach Crew Pace and then some other stuff on there. So you can also just give me a DM if you don't want to deal with any of that. Yeah, Instagram is where I have most of my stuff, or coachcrewpace.com if you're trying to get connected with me in that way. Yeah.
Thank you. Am I remembering that you wrote an article or something? Or was it a
Yeah,
big long
I
Instagram
did.
post?
Yeah, I did. I forgot about that actually. Yeah, I did. I have a Substack now. There's only one article on it, but it's about Burrito League. It's super in depth. Kind of day-to-day account of my Burrito League experience. It's super long, so probably reading the whole thing would be a lot, but even just like skimming through it and like reading day 1 versus day 15 versus day 20, I think is kind of interesting. And just kind of seeing like how my mindset and like how my experience kind of like shifted throughout Burrito League. And then I'll probably eventually add some more blogs about ultra running on there as well. That's also linked on my Instagram as
Sweet.
well. Everything's linked through my Instagram, so that's kind of like a hub for like a lot of my stuff. But if you just look up my Substack, it's just my name, TJ Harms-Synkiew. You can find it there as well. So
Perfect. I will put all of that in the show notes, show description, YouTube thingamabob, all that fun stuff. It'll be there. So you can just click the button and it'll make it do it for
yeah,
you. And
yeah,
don't forget
please
to
do.
subscribe. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate seeing you. And yeah, we'll catch y'all on the next episode. Party on, friends.